And we are live.
Do we need a quorum for these meetings? Sure, I'm not sure we do. Do we need a quorum?
We're not really voting on anything.
Not any formal.
Just kind of
I
an
mean, just
advisory.
the only thing we approve is the minutes at this point.
Yeah.
And we could probably delay. I honestly don't know.
These chapters weren't captivating enough.
I guess, maybe not.
What's everyone else doing?
It could be the rain, yeah.
Monday night, it's a good time to go.
Folks may have waited, so.
So we have 5 of how many are in? Is it 9? I don't know.
Let's see my first
I mean, as
agenda.
far as kind of actual committee members, because, I mean, you guys are here, but you're not actually committee members. So I wouldn't count the two of you as any kind of a quorum. I don't know.
My God.
I mean, I think there's 7 plus you two and Jack, and then. Yeah,
So 7 core members, yeah.
yeah, so it's usually.
You guys too,
yeah,
I don't
2 of the 7. 2 of the council.
Deb's on, so.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
that's
that's
right.
here. Hi, Deb.
She's waiting. It's an actual.
Hello.
So wait a couple of minutes. and see.
Maybe we give it some time.
Do some.
You hadn't heard from anybody yet.
Alita did send an email to Dawn. She shared it that she was gonna be out. Away this weekend.
You know,
It is. It is.
You know, as a town, we tend to leave and go to our camps or vacations or whatever we do.
I think last week it was a lot.
Yeah, our office was very big
Yeah.
last week.
A lot. Out of-
Last meeting, were you guys down here or up there?
Upstairs.
We're on the 3rd floor.
Yeah, should I check around and make sure we didn't see anybody coming in? You stood out by the door for quite a while.
It won't be.
I'll take a spin up there just to make sure that this someone's not leaving.
I don't think there's any, you could check the parking lot too,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah. This one was. This platform. So.
So 2 months from today is my son's wedding day.
Crunch time.
Yeah, it is, but I think what's surprising is there's a wedding day at all, because, he was just one of these guys, never get married, never have kids. Now we're doing a wedding. Just say my son's wedding is 2 months from today,
Oh, really?
and the biggest surprise is there's a wedding at all. But she's very sweet and hardworking, and she adores him, and they get along very well. I couldn't be happier about that. Yeah.
What's the venue?
They're getting married on York Harbor Beach,
Oh,
That's so nice.
which is not something you can rent, it's sort of an informal thing. And then afterwards, they're doing dinner at the Atlantic Grill in Rye.
Cool.
Nice. That's gonna be great.
And unique. Yeah, that's cool.
And they're, it's really not gonna, I mean, it's a dinner, but it's not a reception. It won't be like dancing or a DJ or,
Yeah.
any of that. It'll just be dinner.
Yeah.
Which is what they wanted.
Yes.
Okay.
Less of a fuss. Hello.
Did you walk in that rain?
I got caught outside my house, we got a caravan and the rear flappers were open. I had to take one on the head. Hello, hello,
This
it's me.
stunning acoustics in this room.
I'm channeling you a little. I caught this YouTube video. I was looking at these inductions for the Kennedy Center honors, like 2011. Neil Diamond gets his sash, whatever you call it, and so the finale is Sweet Caroline, and but the host for the entire evening is Caroline Kennedy. So they start rocking Sweet Caroline. And then, they do like just the verse and all the rest of the stuff, so it comes around for the chorus again. The stage parts, or the written parts. And they got about 400 people from the bleachers of Fenway Park with their
Oh.
swag and all. And the audience went freaking crazy. They're all up. Check it out. It was really moving. And then, well, of course, Smokey Robinson was the one who was doing the tune. And he's up there, he puts his arm around Caroline. Who's gonna put their arm around Caroline Kennedy, right? That's what you'll do, right? Smokey's right there.
Yeah, he doesn't look here.
He's got the credit,
Smokey
right?
Robinson, yeah.
So anyway. I'm a happy guy.
So,
I'm glad for you too, right?
I guess we might as well start.
Oh, were you waiting for me?
We were waiting for everyone to see if anyone, 6 o'clock.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm wasting all your precious moments of gray cells and all the rest of that stuff.
Wondering who was the stage show?
We were kind of twirling our thumbs.
Okay, so if we start the meeting, let's start with the pledge. Yeah. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, I mean, I guess we approved the minutes. One thing I wanted to talk about with the minutes is that it looks like it's a list of who showed up.
Yeah.
But it doesn't list who didn't show up.
Okay.
And a lot of times, not so much with counselors because they're not officially part of the committee, but committee members, if they're not there, it's probably worth noting. I mean, it's not meant to be, penalized or anything like that, but we probably should acknowledge who wasn't there.
Okay.
So
Sure.
otherwise, I thought the minutes were great and I had no changes.
Yeah, no exception to my part either, thank you. You want to formalize that with a motion? Or is that already happened?
Need a motion to approve?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look for a motion.
So say that, so.
Second. All those in favor? So, I mean, I guess as we get started, we have these drafts. And I guess procedurally, I'm not really sure what to do because, these particular drafts look like they're, statements of fact. Maybe they're updated from the last time we did it. But I don't know that there's anything we can discuss or approve or not approve. I mean, these are,
I have some edits.
oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. On that part of it, I'd like to say that they're very well written.
I'd say so, yeah.
They're very good drafts, and I guess we can decide if we want to take the committee's time this evening, I just have me forward those to Reagan or whatever people do, because they're not major things like we got the parking. There was a parking committee in town in 2015.
Okay.
It was a coalition of counselors, town staff, business people and residents. And one of the byproducts that came out of that was the 80 space parking lot. I always confuse Railroad and Front Street, and I believe it's Railroad, which is right next to Cummings Mill, because they kind of, I think it happens at the split at Big Aggie and Sons storage facility. But
That's you, like where it goes down and then turns off to the.
Well, it goes like this, because you get Signs by Mo on this side of the floor, and
Yeah.
then heading out towards Stevens and all the rest of that up there. But that was one of the, as a result of that study and the 80 spaces at Railroad across from Spring/Cummings Mill. The Paul Street lot over here was improved. For the school part, and which I think is still very, very successful, is the library school drop off. There's 4 spaces over there, and also to encourage the use of the library parking lot. And also discourage overnight parking. I mean, there was some people in there that would like just taking up space. Same thing on the Paul Street law, which I believe is still happening now. But that's a question of enforcement arms and all the rest, but those are the things that I would like to add. The other thing, as far as traffic calming, if we go to page 8, under traffic calming, which would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down. Well, the whole sentence, typically traffic calming is most appropriate on low volume collector and local roadways rather than on roadways such as principal arterials, whose purpose is to facilitate through traffic flow. And as far as transportation engineering goes, I agree with the arterials having that function, but when arterial kind of gets blurred with downtown streets, to facilitate through traffic flow goes against a livable and walkable downtown. So I think there might be some opportunity to put that in there, because facilitate traffic flow is old transportation engineer thinking. They just say, how do we move the most amount of cars as fast as we can and get to the next bottleneck? And then we'll work on that. It just does, but so that's why we ended up with a slingshot down at the square, you know, with the people running in front of this building, heading over and then going out Fulton Street. So that was another item. And going back to page 6 on public transportation, talking about the coast, Route 100 is their route number.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, I just wasn't clear with how that text, whether it was a typo or whether it was actually
Yeah.
there.
It would make, maybe
It's
like
not a state route,
bus
but
route 100, it's
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah, that'd be good. And on page 4, there's a list of bridges, and I noticed that New Hampshire DOT is responsible for the maintenance of the bridge over the Salmon Falls River, what we call Dover Elliott Road, Route 101. And someone's actually put the state line, almost like what happens in Vermont, they put the state line at the end of the bridge on our side, when actually the state line follows the thread of the river. But in talking, because the concrete's been falling off that bridge for a while, so I did call someone from, this years ago, I said, what's up with that, you know, when's it scheduled? And he said, no, we're on it, it's just, you know, in our shopping list of things to do. So that was a question I had, as to how that all works, and I guess this is the age of the bridge, not the latest upgrade. Now, when you get Henry's Bridge Road over the Great Works River, that's stated as 1891. But I almost think it's transposed. It's a concrete bridge. I don't think we're building concrete and steel bridges.
Nope.
It could be type, we'll have to check that.
It might be just a transposition of.
Yeah.
Because 1981 might make more sense.
Yeah,
Um,
that's strange.
It could be that that's even the typo at DOT's end, 'cause like the data come right out, came right from DOT.
yeah.
It could be that it was the original bridge, like some of the abutments were built in. I guess I'm not familiar with the bridge, but like, there's a category for year built and then year most recently, like if they redo the substructure or something, then they won't build, like the year built might still be because that was the original year that when that bridge technically went in.
Hmm.
And if they didn't redo everything, if they left the abutments, so there could be a reason why. And in that case, that's why it looks so off.
We could, if that is the
I'm
case,
gonna,
we
I'll
could
just
add
look at
the,
it, yeah,
add the updated year.
yeah, I can look at it, see the year worked on, like the year that was last replaced or something, all that.
And there was one other that is fairly recent, but it's not on the list. On Route 101 over Quampegan Brook. That probably qualifies because of bridge length, it's a box culvert. It's probably not 20 feet, which would make it a bridge.
Yes, it would only be 20 feet and over as a bridge, so if
Right.
it was over, if it was between 10 and 20, Maine DOT just considers it a large span.
Yeah,
So they do inventory, but they don't do the regular
yeah,
inspections, I don't believe. And the other thing is, if it was, because it was built recent, then it wouldn't be in the National Bridge Inventory, but what happened was Federal Highways changed the National Bridge Inventory guidelines like 20, maybe 15 or 20 years ago, from greater than 10 feet to greater than 20 feet.
Hmm.
So the states it was up to them if they want to continue to inventory the smaller bridges. So that's why Maine has it, they consider the larger spans. So yeah.
Yeah, it's not on the list.
Whether, we can just include it in the list and just
Yeah.
put a note that came from the town. I
yeah.
can look into it, I don't know when it was put in and,
It's recent enough because it was done around either just before or just after 101 over Shorey's Brook.
it's Route 101, you said,
Yeah, and it's,
over Shorey's Brook.
no, that's on the
Oh,
list,
that's on the, okay,
but it's over Quampegan Brook.
all right, yeah.
And I think it's recent enough so that they applied the Stream Smart philosophy to it to, bankful with times.
Yeah, sure.
What is it, 1.2
Yeah,
or
the
whatever.
auto, right there.
Yeah, so anyway, it's significant and I just wanted to,
Just going back to your comment on the bridges over the Salmon Falls River, those are shared by New Hampshire and Maine.
okay,
So they went like the upgrades to the, I think it's the Dover Road I think it's Route 4 over Salmon Falls River. Maine and New Hampshire are about to replace that, and they're gonna split the cost on that.
yeah,
I have that written in here. New Hampshire has it actually in their plan, Maine doesn't, because Maine's plan doesn't go that far ahead. But yeah, so they share the maintenance and inspections across on those bridges.
okay. Let's see, what else? There's one other, there's always one more. Going back to page 2, you go all the way down to the bottom. And under minor arterials,
Did you catch it? It says
no cell, no
Yeah,
cell.
I know.
Got that one as
I
well.
put that one in there to see if you guys would actually read that.
Yeah,
Yeah. And now the other thing that we always, when we talk about things, because we're in the middle of paying off a highway bond in town.
Mhm.
We took out $3.6 million to do a major push over 3 years to upgrade our roads, and our roads are looking really good.
Mhm.
And we're paying it off right now. I think it goes out to 27 maybe. Anyway, it's
Yeah.
it's in the 20s. And so, but it's always been stipulated, like when we talk to the former town manager and all the rest of this and different things on the highway, it's always, well, we have 69 miles of road to take care of.
Yeah.
So I was wondering about how that squares with the 85
Okay.
Miles mentioned.
I caught that one too after we sent it out, but in GIS, I just calculated the mileage, but for some reason the GIS program I was using had a different projection system. So it was, the calculation was way off, that's.
Map was
Yeah.
stretched.
So
And way,
No,
shouldn't have been.
No,
It was
the
a wrong-
maps are in the right
incorrect
coordinate system in here, they're in the right plane projection, but for some reason the calculator the automatic calculator was wrong, using the wrong projection, so. It was using a stretched version.
So is the 69 still good?
Yeah, you're right, you're correct.
I didn't.
If I believe I have it, and I think it's actually 61 is what I have for my notes here. Well, state aid would, if you add the state aid, it would be 64, 65. Sorry.
Well,
So I technically, I'll double check before, but I just quickly did a calculation, because when I came here, if you guys questioned it, I was probably gonna just tell you.
you know, it
Yeah,
might be
so we can
worthwhile
change
to drop Jay Redemacher a text or a phone call just to, I'm sure he's on
So the other thing is like the data that I'd be using comes from the state, so whatever the state has on file for the town maintaining for local roads. That should be, like if you, for some reason you guys have more, you should probably be letting them know, because I think there's even a calculation of some of the funding they give you based on that, but,
You can get stuck in a silo real easy. in this state.
yeah. I know.
So
But I can double check with him, but I would think that, what you probably want to stick with the state's data. As long as it's calculated using the right projection.
yeah, so, and that's mentioned in the description, right?
Sorry, what mentioned,
Well, as long as, just so that it's, the data source, as long as that's referenced,
oh, yeah, it
based on
says
the
that it comes
table
from,
or
yeah,
whatever
it comes from-
study, and then you're clean, or we're clean,
Yeah,
because, no one's gonna bird dog it.
yeah, and so like technically I have, the total would be 70.6 miles. But that includes the state highways and the state aid highways. So wherever you're getting that 69 number might be closer from that. I will do
And that could
more.
be anecdotal too.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it just sounds like a number to throw out there when you're talking
Double check.
rounding up or whatever you're gonna do. But I'm gonna be pretty thorough when I redo the numbers, because I'm only gonna do it, I'm gonna have to do that once. I just caught that it was messed up and took a quick look. Yeah, so I was gonna be making some of those changes.
Thank you.
And I think just going back to your parking edits, like if you have some, like, if you wanna reword that section, one of the things we were gonna talk to you about too is the fact that there's like the plan to do a downtown chapter. So I was trying to walk the line, how much do I get into the downtown chapter in this chapter? Versus, so that's why there's just that little, but if you couldn't not include some stuff on the downtown and parking in this chapter.
I believe that we're better served if we say it once.
Yeah,
So if you include the parking and transportation, then if you
Okay.
change something else, we're not gonna have a embedded conflict.
yeah.
This
So-
might be dated fairly quickly too, because we're reaching out for another like traffic study in
Yes.
town, so I just wanted to like raise my hand and say that don't like dig too deep in here, by the time this is published, this is like almost out of date.
Do you know the details on like the timeline of that study?
We're going to be doing a study in the fall for just the traffic. count.
Starting in the fall?
We retained it for idea.
Yeah,
Okay, and do we have like a potential end date?
I can't recall.
It's incremental.
They're just gonna
Yeah,
have
yeah.
updated level of service, and are they gonna be looking at projections with the potential intersection improvements too, like what would happen if they.
Basically updating that
So it
feasibility
should
study.
be
So
level
those-
of service.
Sedago Technics did the study in 2008, so we dug that out, and now we've retained them. So I wouldn't be uncomfortable at all if you gave them a call to.
Yeah, I was just,
Yeah.
whatever they're doing with the town, or I mean, do they have a committee or anything, or is there like a? Cause I was
There's all
gonna say, I would
the staff.
participate,
By staff,
Got it.
so with Jay or with, Tim,
coming from the manager.
so.
He might be delegating some to Jay, but
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I guess I should probably reach out and try to be involved in that a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be good to be able to make sure it stays aligned with that, but also is in your role in CAX, which is us. And, you know, one and the same, really, it'd be good to have some.
Yeah, I think another thing that we were talking about recently was, that's not in this, since we sent this, it was to include like a call out box, and just give a little information on CAX, on the Kittery area, comprehensive transit, so it's like the MPO, because they have the ability to delegate funding and stuff, so.
And also for future readers of the plan, it gives a link for more research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was definitely missing, and I can't remember why I didn't include it in the first place. So,
That's right.
I think it was more of where we wanted to put it and get your feeling on it. And I think that if you want to just send those edits, for the downtown parking stuff that you have, if that would be-
I'll go through my files, because we had a series of meetings, and, it led to certain conclusions and, different. Originally, was started because the downtown merchants had felt that 2-hour parking was too long.
Mhm.
And there was a perception that there wasn't parking, but what we found anecdotally in evidence, that really no one ever has a problem getting to the stores. I mean, it's just when you stop at which I frequent, 3 times a week, go to pick up a chicken salad or something, and whatever, gallon of milk, I can just go and park and do my thing and get out. And so we found that, so there really was a perceived need.
That's the normal, every
But
parking study I've ever been
wasn't-
a part of is.
There wasn't one out, in fact,
Yeah.
what it actually was some of the store owners were PO'd because we have mixed use downtown.
Yeah.
Professional offices, stores, whatever, shops and restaurants, banks, all downtown. And then there's a lot of residential above. So it was frosting the business people to see, they knew that the tenant was parked there all day.
Mhm.
So I think they were reacting to.
For sure.
The immediate, yeah.
Yeah,
And honestly, I think I read that parking study, and I think what I have in here is like cutting and paste out of that basically, so. So if you wanna include or change, like, so that was done in 2015, so any new stuff that you guys have done since then, if you wanna just help me include that in there.
Yeah.
Or if maybe there was something typo in that study where I copied from, or if I messed
so
up.
the biggie was to inventory every parking spot downtown.
Yeah, I know, I get
There was
I get the point of the study.
252 spaces or something like that, and we did that. And then, the other part was we also were able to align the current use of the post office and, People's Bank was probably a different name back then, and the residual town spaces at the corner of Norton Street and Berwick Road. So that parking was a big deal for both those businesses, and it's been a major achievement for us to be able to keep our post office downtown. Because we could have lost it like Berwick lost theirs, and you lose a lot of your downtown identity when you have essential services that go out onto the periphery. Having to elevate, and, moving up to 236 and Dow Highway, and happened to Berwick going out to Mayo's and that sort of thing. So we've been successful with that. And it's controversial. We actually sacrificed a historic building, trying to do the best for the most kind of deal, the Grant House, and it was like, I don't know who they knew or what document they might have signed or what war they fought in, but that was like a big deal to the story.
Yeah,
And so but we chose to try and keep current on it. And, tough decisions.
So that's just the kind of thing I think we're looking for when it comes to these chapters on the whole. It's all as it is great. And I think most of the time we'll find that what we have found during our research is pretty accurate. here, but there's always going to be things like that in all of the chapters that you guys just know better
Okay.
than we do, and that feedback's really essential. And
Oh,
edits
excuse
also,
me,
Yeah.
but, you know, one of our goals when we first started out interviewing
yeah,
Southern Maine was that we wanted a readable document, and these things are readable.
that's great, I'm
You
glad.
know,
good to hear.
8, 7, 8, 9 pages.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not a tone, and
Good.
so congratulations on that.
The other piece about your feedback, in addition to edits and revisions, is also just hearing your reactions, I think is helpful. So knowing like what of chapter 1 or the transportation chapter, wow, that was hard, is most surprising to you, or you didn't realize that that was something that was true to your town, or maybe it feels like it really, really isn't true to your town and we look for better data. So all of that, just the immediate reactions is good too. So, that's nice.
A cool thing on the community part was the fact that now that our average household income is $89,000, that $3,000 increase over 2010 actually buys less.
Yes, isn't that fascinating?
Adjusted for inflation. I mean,
And that's the 2020 year specifically, looking at that. you know,
Yeah,
it's- That's
and just
the,
this whole, you know, value of the dollar, and we got more of them, but well, like what's going on right now, whatever we bought on June 1st for $1,
Mhm.
now it's gonna
yeah,
cost us
dramatically
$1.11.
Yeah, that was, I think that was the first time I'd seen that doing like an inflation adjustment. It's like-
And the other part is that, you know, Southborough is doing great. You know, the education profile is outstanding.
Mhm.
It shows that the community values education. And we have you know, highly educated population, and I thought that was kind of really interesting.
Yeah, great.
Because, you know, I'm going back to things about saying, you know, if someone attains some high school, you know, like when they get to grade 10 or 11, they're gonna typically have a lifetime learning power of X. If they attain the 12th grade and graduate, they're gonna be at Y. And then if they go on to an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree or 4, it ramps up in terms of what their potential is for higher lifetime earnings. I thought that was kind of cool.
I thought it was interesting that our population hasn't grown as fast as some of the other communities, and then like the new development that's coming over here with government units, like how that stuff plays into.
Yeah.
Change, yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
The population projections for this chapter are just sort of straight line projections, the ones that we did, not the state. I have seen in some communities if they have large enough developments coming, so for instance, for Wick, I'm sure you've heard of the Edge, we incorporated the estimated number of people that would move into those units into the projections. So, you know, if there are situations like that, then we look at it a little bit more in detail, but I'm not sure how many units the development you're mentioning is. Total. It's not, yeah, 300 plus is a big deal, but, okay, yeah, single family homes, or-
Yeah, I think two bedroom.
okay,
I
yeah.
think. And that.
Mhm. If there aren't other thoughts on the chapter drafts, I did want to hear an update on the survey in terms of printing, because I think the email sort of petered out at some, I think after maybe the select board meeting, and I'm not sure we heard an update beyond that, where folks were going with them.
I don't know. You know, I ended up with a list of, one email said, well, we have the mailing list for taxpayers, and then we
Right.
went from there. There's been no action on it. And
Okay,
It's some, now we've advertised, and the fact that it's not printed yet is trouble.
yeah,
So I don't know where we go from here on that, but, I guess I've personally kind of backed off on it. I felt as though I was pushing too hard. I don't know if the rest of the committee didn't appreciate that or not, but I just kind of said, okay, let's see where it goes, and perhaps some people will feel the same way that I do about, you know, well, we had a deadline July 15th, and because the old saying is, you know, without a deadline, nothing gets done, and it's come and gone, and here we are now on the 25th, 10 days later, and no further along, so.
So how do we finalize the list that we mail to? Who knows what that list is or should be?
I think, was it the, who was the last, what was the last email was from the town, somebody just suggesting a mailing address list, is that right?
Jennifer had come up with the number, I think it was somewhere around 3,500 people, maybe, something like that, I recall. But don't quote me, we should look research and find out what was actually stated rather than
Mhm.
guessing. And
I just feel like as a committee, we're really not in a position to know who should be on the list and who should receive something. I don't know how to.
well, I'd like to simply pull the trigger on whatever list, if it's 90% or 87% of
I'm
our
I'm
time.
good with that.
And we just get, was it high grade? Just as a committee, we say, let's go ahead and print 3,500 copies of the survey. And then we'll have enough to, but they need the list as well, once we pull the trigger, because they're gonna
Right,
do the envelopes, do the stuffing and do all that stuff. So, the other part of it, of course, is we've been assured by staff that we have money. And I personally don't know what pocket's coming out of, but that's good that we have the money, but I think if, like, going to tomorrow night's town council meeting, this tomorrow night, right?
Yes.
That we have a recommendation as a committee to move ahead. And to go ahead and authorize the printing of, what was it gonna end up being, 4 or 5 pages?
I think it's 5 to a T, including the front page.
Yeah, yeah, and so we,
Or do you know?
this is the lead, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and so,
And I did an updated one actually with the link and the QR code to the online version, so
To the mailer ones, you might wanna say, like, if you've already done it online, don't do it.
it does say do notice.
How are we gonna keep track of who responds and who doesn't?
I think it's blind to us.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it's more, okay,
so we're not gonna know if someone does it by on paper and online.
Oh, we'll know that because we'll have either hard copy or electronic copy.
if they do
Yeah,
both, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, we would vote.
We're not gonna know that.
No,
And I
but
think-
that was the
I think
case. all
usually
along.
statistically, that kind of flushes out.
Mhm, yeah.
You're not gonna get 55% of the people responding.
Takes a lot of effort to do, you know,
So
somebody-
just to be a prankster?
yeah,
I'm just throwing it.
No. but I
that's a
think-
good question.
There is always on these things, there's always that also minus 4% margin of error.
Yeah,
Have we received our BRD? Our business return? Like,
no, I think we were just gonna put return postage on it. And then people would either use them or not, I mean,
Right.
because in order to get that BRE, we would need someone from the town, probably Dawn, to fill it out and get it approved by the post office, and it just seemed like we didn't have time to get that done. So. I mean, I think in the end, it may end up being a waste of postage because we're gonna put postage on envelopes that won't be used. And it was my understanding that in the interest of time and to expedite, that we would just go ahead and do that. Not my favorite thing to do, but okay.
Yeah, I think that's where we were, just to
I
go
think that,
ahead with the printing and
Yeah.
And we write it off as a cost of doing business.
So I think what's holding us up is what our list is, where we're gonna send. And I don't know that any of us on this committee is in a position to say, use this list or that list. I think somewhere we're gonna need buy-in from the town to say, this is the list we should use.
So, well, I think we have to get it rolling, so we know that if the ultimate list is 3,700,
Okay,
that will include the subset of the 3465 or whatever that is, those, they will always get one. So
okay,
we get, at least get it out. And so then there'll be requests for information. And then if we can find that, you know, how we fill it in, what the magic words are to get it to all box holders, then that subset will get another mailing. Or subsequent mailing.
I mean, that part, I have no expertise in any of that.
No, I,
Right.
I'm
So,
kind of a linear guy.
so who do we designate that to then? Where do we ask for assistance?
Well, if you want staff assistance, then we'll bring it up the council meeting.
Okay,
I think they're the
And
only
what
people who
we're-
are going to have a list of addresses, is the staff, the town staff, the only people who are gonna know or have that information.
But they're not the post office, and I think
No.
that's what's happening is that we're looking for renters or whatever, or or PO boxes for whatever, and we really just don't have that information. So I think, the last town council meeting, Jen was saying that we should reach out to other communities, or if we knew what other communities did in order to find a subset,
What about like registered voters?
So, yeah, the committees I've worked with have either used the tax paying list, a taxpayers list, and it goes where it goes. You know, folks may be taxpayers who are living elsewhere, but they got it. I have also had committees use the every door direct mail, which was an option I brought up a while back, where you cannot mail the actual survey to them, but you can drop a pamphlet in every single mailbox that says, this is how you access the survey. And that will go to every box holder, it just won't have the full survey and a return envelope and return postage. It would just give them the information either to access it online or go pick up their copy at town hall.
Tell them that they can win a prize. if they-
Yeah, right.
They entered a winner.
Yeah, give it a raffle, it's a good way to, but, that's the only recent mailings that I've had committees do. Most committees have just been doing online surveys.
I mean, it would seem to me that this is a council decision who it gets mailed to.
I think it's up to us because we're the ones asking for the information from people, you know, they can provide us the list, but it's up to us.
Yeah, if the other councilors were not present, Valerie and John, the way it usually works is, you know, they would follow our lead. And respect, you know, we're a committee, we've been charged by the council, and so as a council, we've always taken seriously what an ad hoc committee or a subcommittee is always brought forward. And there might be some debate, but at least it would foster action if we could demonstrate some unanimity in moving ahead with the best we have right now.
Okay, so what you're saying is we can make a recommendation to the council, but it seems to me how that list is generated and mailed to is a council decision, I think. You know, as a committee, I don't know how we can know. I mean, how do we know if we have good information or not? I just don't know.
Like, we could ask them for the tax bill information, which Jack has, and that's the best, if that's the best number that we have, to me, if that's the best number that we have, and we have already put out a press release, and we've already done some online stuff, I feel as though we just need to say, for this, you know, we're moving forward with the tax.
But then that leaves renters out, renters who are paying their taxes to their landlord.
And we'll bring that up tomorrow night.
Okay,
Say, you know, it'll be eyes wide open, we'll say, okay, this does, you know, the best list we have right now is this list. Because that's where high grade, that's the list that high grade has to mail the tax bills. And that's one of the good things about that vendor is they do this twice a year for us. And
okay,
so now, if someone comes up with a better idea, like Reagan mentioned, every door direct mail, over the balance, then we could do that for that other group of people.
So just so I make sure I'm taking this down, it would be like we would send the full survey to taxpayers and then do direct mail to everybody.
It would have to be to everybody, because it's every door direct mail.
Which
You
would
wouldn't be able to do a
Just a
subset.
postcard, it is just a postcard.
All
It's
they,
not-
you print, a set number of them, and they literally just drop it in every single mailbox that they see. It's not in South Berwick, you can give them a
It
boundary.
wouldn't be just letters, it would be literally.
Oh, okay, so this is.
It would be it would have to be the whole, every route, every
So then you can all the
mailbox.
renters, all the businesses that are leased.
Yeah, you would just get every
But
mailbox.
you missed the current resident. basically.
Current resident, yeah, like you get an ad or you get a political ad that says current resident, that's exactly what it is.
So then like a QR.
Okay, so then taxpayers would be getting a survey plus like the ad.
In
and
this
then the
scenario,
rest-
If they had
yeah.
mailbox,
Okay.
Right, we wouldn't be able, you can't do every door direct mail for a specific amount.
Yeah.
If there could be a scenario where you mail the survey to the taxpayer list and then somehow through some method find out that other set of addresses. I don't know
You
how.
can take the South Berwick taxpayer list and not do anyone that has a South Berwick address, because they're gonna get a post-it.
There's
And
that,
then you get all the landlords that live in Massachusetts or wherever.
right, the,
And the rest of-
I don't know if the post office provides that information, if you can ask for addresses like that, I have no idea.
No, with your tax map.
No, I know, I mean, like, I'm just trying to say, how would you find that other subset, but, yeah, the,
Where are we getting live or live-ish data as far as what's coming in? Are you guys watching?
I am, yes, so we have 126 responses as of 3 p.m. today. Which for a week, I think is
That's really
excellent,
good, yeah.
really good. We've just kind of been keeping an eye on it, I check it every day. I know you particularly were interested back when we did interviews and kind of checking up on it midway. So, I think maybe, I guess, it will, if we stick to the 3 weeks, will it be done by our next meeting, or will there be a final week? How does that work? I think it will be finished by.
Yeah, part of my questioning is we're sitting here talking about the mailing. And I see the value in it, but I also see we have fairly decent fire underneath us just with digital.
Yes,
We have data that we can see who's renting, right?
yeah, that was one of our questions, actually, yeah.
And so we can see where we're deficient, and then we have time to be more strategic about our mail. Since we haven't hit our 15th, you know what I mean? Then we can say, oh my God, maybe we really need to get older individuals that maybe not be digital, or, you know what I mean? I'm not sure where we haven't hit that 15th date, maybe we can be in.
Well, and the 3 weeks is tight, because we
Right,
like
yeah.
that, but it is, I mean, makes perfect sense that we would react, right?
Right, to try and get a more well-rounded. Yeah, sorry, I guess.
I think of like the Grant House or Vesta where those people are all renting.
Yeah. The other piece too about this like 126 number is that I think that was press release and maybe a couple online postings, it's on the website and people get the notification.
Respondents that they got it. from Facebook, right?
Facebook, well, that wasn't specifically the survey, it's just like where do you hear your news, but
Oh, I thought that was where you get a survey.
yeah, you can have the responses already, but, I think that also there's a lot of opportunity for still advertising, you know, that's a big number for just a little bit of push. So, there could be, you know, there could be opportunity to do more advertising unless that digital survey is acceptable.
I think the Sentinel closes on Monday, or Friday.
Yeah, it's a Monday morning, I think, that's when we got it in, the press release, it's very tight.
And perhaps we should plan on a reissue of that
Certainly possible, yeah,
going into next week.
I wouldn't be surprised if they.
So on there, when is the close of,
Yeah, let's look at the calendar, it's a great question, 'cause I don't know the date, top of my head, but we said 3 weeks in the press release, that's the only place that says that, you know, I think there's still some flexibility there, but I know it's sticking to your word is also important. Let's see, so it was posted, it's technically posted on the 18th, even though we said the 15th, so it's been a week, August 8th would technically be the closing date. That would be 3 weeks. It is quick.
It's
What's a
like-
mailer look like?
It's also like right in the middle
You don't
of
have
like
the mail
vacation
here?
and things.
Hmm?
Yeah.
You know what happened to the mail here the last 3 days?
Nothing but delivery.
There
No,
was 0 mail.
just,
Yeah, it
Trucks
was,
moving.
they claim that US Postal Service claimed that there were 3 trucks broken down. And there was 0 mail delivered on my street. Wednesday,
You know, Walker Street.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? No, they drive around.
They do.
Young Street, they walk.
Oh, right.
They were still getting there, I'm on the corner. And, so, yeah, and, you know, people wonder, where's my bills, and like, all that stuff.
concerned, yeah. I will say 3 weeks is quick.
Yeah, it's really-
I've had surveys stay out there for 3 months, which obviously isn't ideal, but there's an in between there.
So should there be like another push for like something this week, and then like if we need to schedule like some PR for this online survey throughout the week?
Well, I think that, you know, because we're on the 25th right now, and so there's 2 weeks to go. And so I think it's critical that we get something in next Monday for the 12th. And, no, excuse me, for the 5th. Monday the 1st, Friday the 5th.
Yes, yeah.
And,
I think
and
they've done the
then
same thing again.
if we choose to extend,
Mhm.
then we can do, but I don't believe we should extend
No,
while we're in the 3-week period.
No, I don't think that's fair.
So we'll just have to rely on Southern Maine to keep us apprised of
Yeah.
how the responses are.
Like what my mind goes to, I've got like little cartoony things that I can make cartoons about whatever I want and post it on Facebook and make little digital belonging things to just kind of not just be Jeff Minahan posting, do your survey, you know, make it fun and then catch their attention.
Do you boost your post? Can you do that?
I don't, well, I definitely could, I'm set up to do it, so I can do that. I just figure free, I can catch their attention,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah.
think
do
that
the
idea.
Like
survey.
3,000, I'll put it for like 3,000.
Exactly.
Right,
So
yeah.
I'll go home and start working on that to do that.
Mhm.
And with that, I think that, like, I've already had people ask me when it's gonna finish. And
Yeah.
I said, in August it's gonna finish. So just do it. Let's-
Yeah, right, let it wait,
Leave it
people.
right there.
Yeah,
Now, are you a member of the bulletin?
yeah.
Jen's been posting it, Tiffany posted it. yeah.
Okay.
The, that's a great idea. I think the other thing is the town notification line. I mean, I think if we have Dawn post it again to that thing in a week or two, you know, people get another text message about the fact that there's a survey open. I think you could consider doing some in-person sort of, I mean, we have a QR code and the link is also very, very simple. So a flyer's not a crazy idea. If you have, you know, the library or schools, things like that. Yep, if there's just,
Yeah, there's like
Something coming
gathering, farmers market,
yep,
senior center, like, I'm not sure what you guys have done, but. Yeah. so-
communities, and even just something on the front door of town hall, like even if it's a couple flyers,
There should
like
be
it
something
probably
in town
is,
hall.
it's probably worth it, you know, it's another 10, 20 people will see that.
But
So.
you can just print off the QR code that.
You can print out that front page, even,
Okay.
could probably be a flyer,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
fine,
QR code.
so,
I'll stand on the street corner of the sign.
yeah.
Be like the Super Bowl commercial with the QR code just. bouncing.
Oh my god. Really sorry for it.
Okay, so yeah, I think it just kind of fallen on us to try and publicize it more. But back to the mailing, what do we want, or what should we do with the mailing? I don't,
I mean, are we set with a list when we send it? Because then we just push the button, have high grade,
just go,
just go with it, yeah, I mean.
seems like right now, it's just a matter of providing as many opportunities for them to do the survey, whether that's,
Yeah,
they get it digitally, a mailer, a flyer, if we can get them.
If there's large buildings or like large complexes, you could always drop off staff too. You know,
Right, like the current resident mailer type of thing.
I mean, just as a person,
Vesta,
you know, like
or-
if you were concerned about a large population of renters somewhere, is it a Vesta
A
house?
Vesta
Yeah,
house, yeah.
there's a lobby, you know, drop a stack survey somewhere. I don't know, it's more like work, volunteer work, but you know, I think it adds up.
You know, I think it's important to keep in mind that we have high school students looking for volunteer hours. And if we need some foot traffic to go and drop off flyers, we probably can recruit through the Marshwood High School office.
Well, but so it's big.
Well, the bottom line is, it's a race to get to 1,000, as far as I'm concerned.
1,000 responses,
That's my number.
is that 30%?
Aspiration.
Give or take? That's
Well, I mean,
high,
it makes everybody smile, but we almost achieved that the last 2 times. So,
And just the amount of responses in 7 days is pretty good.
It's actually part of the survey, you know, I question, you know, we sit in groups like this and we don't a lot of times get a lot of feedback. And I wonder, ask the question of myself, and this time when you serve as well. Are people that confident in what we're doing
right? I
that they
agree.
don't comment? Or don't
They
they
just
care?
don't know, yeah,
Don't
or
they
care,
care?
right?
And I,
Or they're just too
I
busy.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that they're confident what's going on with the local government.
I think so too. I
Yeah.
think there's,
Yeah,
but, you know,
So-
as local
No.
government, it gets frustrating because you don't hear from anybody.
yeah.
I do.
Which is what, right?
My neighbors are like, but,
Yeah, so, yeah, so what's, do we make a recommendation as far as that, tomorrow night's town council meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with the number we have, and,
So the recommendation is the tax list.
take tax list, and we'll put it back on staff to see if they want to print. Because when they run, you know, I'm sure part of the volume is to get that number, and they just, you know, have to do it twice, it's gonna cost more, so if they,
Right,
so what's that magic number of, like, just say we're at 34, 65, whatever the number might happen to be. What would be prudent in terms of, well, what's our percentage of renters? Do we have that in here?
good question, not in this chapter, it's in the housing chapter, which
Okay.
I'm currently working.
Yeah, so, you know, what would be prudent to print but hold? You know, this isn't the.
Unless you're gonna use them in a different path, I would say extra if you're going to put them in town hall or pass them around, or
Okay,
leave
that's a
them
good idea.
places, that might be worthwhile to have. I don't know that you're, you know,
What's that
confident
number?
enough.
What's
that
that
you have
number if you have the extra?
Make it around them, I don't know. 50? How many people are in this Vesta housing complex? You know, it also has to be like, is
Well,
somebody committed to doing that, you know?
Yeah.
If it's just around town hall or other town facilities, or, you know, fire station, whatever. maybe
Well, if
I would
if
say.
it's 50, we can do that here.
Okay, then, yeah,
That's something within our capability.
right,
It's,
I don't know.
it's a half a ring, so it's.
Yeah.
not a big deal.
that's, you know, they also serve as, PR pieces, I think, probably more than they're going to serve as hard copy.
So we'll go with the neat number as far as
Yeah.
that goes. And we'll start there, at least it'll get out.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, because we're really time sensitive here.
One thing to keep in mind too is that the 10th and 11th are night fest. Has a potential hit up for more people, you know, with that gathering too, so. I think that's the
Land.
final, yeah, it's like a big gathering up in on Spring Hill. And it's like a whole day
Oh, well,
cookout event type thing.
cool. I'd love to
So
hear about
a lot of people from the town go, but it might be also another thing, if the numbers aren't looking good, we can push.
That would be maybe 1 week, and you just like advertise at that event, and you may get that many more people, you know, yeah, it's
Yeah.
all.
Good place to walk, like, you know, those
Potential.
QR codes too.
Right.
Yeah, the QR code is on the
Really
hard
people
copy
in there,
survey
yeah, they're sitting there telling them to do it.
to do it, you know, walk around with an iPad.
Yeah, you can walk around with an iPad. They
He's
set up
done.
a laptop on the table.
What?
I had a question about it. One of the questions that came up was the number. I haven't done the survey yet, so.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't want to. screw
Was it the
numbers.
number of kids in school?
Yes.
Yes, Jess sent me, somebody
Okay.
else said it. So, yeah, there wasn't a none option.
Right, yeah.
So everybody was like, wow. So you couldn't skip the question, it wasn't required, so I have a feeling that people skipped it if they couldn't say none. But I went and added it again. So it's been changed, and I like wrote down the time and everything of when I changed it, so we can look at the responses before and after and
Okay.
take that into consideration.
My answer to them was that we would, as we tally it, we would kind of,
That's what it was.
probably figure.
We would realize it, yeah, right.
Completely, what was it, 32?
I thought at first that they,
Total,
I didn't think of the fact
the
that they
current
could skip
tax
the
bills are
question.
total
I was like,
32
where did
million,
everybody, like,
plus
or they know they
this
should
year.
1 to 2 category, they fit in the high
Yeah,
category. It's all good.
You could mail to the location,
Like
not
my
the mail recipient's
Doesn't
address,
have
which
his,
is sometimes
his
different.
assistant, so she just did.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the number we have from finance director is 3318.
3318.
And we could mail to the location, not the mail recipient's address, which is sometimes different.
Oh, I see. So that would probably capture your renters to a certain extent, if you mail to the location instead of the taxpayer's address.
Still just go like the landlord though.
No, if you're, the location of the property in town, not the taxpayer's address, which if that's different, it's going to be outside of town, or maybe is inside of town, but it's not
There's
that.
like 4 units and they only get 1 survey
What, that's okay.
now. Okay.
You know, it's better than nothing. If you have the option within that,
Yeah,
I
I
would
think
say
it'd be
choose
good for like a
location.
business owner that maybe just doesn't like leases the commercial property or something, that would be better. Like, you wouldn't want it, especially if it's owned.
Do you want, yeah, you would rather have
Commercial
the
property owner,
taxpayer,
you'd rather have the business owner that runs the business.
which would be the location.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, there isn't gonna be a perfect way to do it, so we'll just go with the best we have.
Yep. There you go.
Would you prefer to mail to the location or the mail recipient's address?
Go to location.
Yeah, I think location.
We're certainly trying hard to get it to as many people, you
Well,
know,
yeah.
so, yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
For the 3318%.
Okay, so if that's the consensus of the committee, we'll advance that idea to council tomorrow night.
Please do, yeah.
Thank you.
I would like to volunteer myself to go to Avesta and the Grant House on Thursday the 28th, so I will hopefully connect with Dawn to get the copies of the survey. I'll actually go to library.
Yeah, so we'll just handle supplementary printing.
In the office, yes.
Mailing, printing. What's that one?
Is it committee consensus also that I request the Sentinel run it a second time?
Yes.
Great, good, I will do that. For folks who maybe didn't catch what Jeff and I were talking about over here, the online survey is still editable. Obviously, we don't want to make major changes, but if there is something small, like the case was with the number of children you have in school, K through 12, not having a none option, I can go in and add something like that, and that is simple enough that we can see the difference in the responses. It's not going to change things significantly. So if folks still continue to hear word or have another edit like that, we definitely let me know. Okay. Other thoughts?
No. Good.
Folks can certainly, and for the benefit of people who aren't here, send me or Dean edits on the chapter. If there are still small things that you notice. But for the time being, we'll set these aside as reviewed by the committee and keep pushing forward. So.
So you want my notes?
Yeah, your notes would be excellent, yeah. Next thing on our schedule is the housing chapter, which is still in draft, but I am planning to get it to you 2 weeks before the next meeting. For huge. I believe it will just be Paul at that meeting because of vacations and things, but he'll certainly be able to answer any of your questions, let me know if you have any things like that, so.
Okay. You take these.
That's the scoop, oh, great, excellent, thank you. He's yours. It's such a big number.
All right, well, I think we have a productive meeting.
Is that one?
Thank you everyone for attending. I guess I'm going. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Okay. Our adjourn.
Thank you.
Hi, Deb.
Good night. And the next meeting is August 22nd.